All right. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this month's She Healthy Woman. We are here live. Miss Chandrell, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us for She Healthy Woman this month's segment. We are so excited about this conversation that we're going to have tonight. This is the segment where we illuminate health issues that minority women face but often go unspoken. And tonight we have with us the lovely Phyllis Booz, our very own She Healthy Woman director, who is also the owner and operator of Capacity Wellness. And we have a special guest with us tonight, the lovely LaKeisha McAuley, who is the owner and operator of FHG Health and Wellness. And of course, I am Chandrell Green, founder and managing director of Sisters Healing and Evolving. So this month's segment is I'm very passionate about. It's very important to me. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. And of course, you know our segment is our mental health is our wealth. And so I'm excited about this conversation tonight because not only will we be talking about mental health, but we will be talking about mental health for nurses. Yes, we are supporting nurse mental health this month for Healthy Woman's segment this month. And so Phyllis, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can introduce LaKeisha to us.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. So I am so delighted to welcome Miss LaKeisha McAuley. She is a registered nurse with over 20 years in healthcare. She is a trained facilitator, a health and wellness coach, and a CPR and first aid instructor. LaKeisha has nearly 20 years in acute care setting, working in a variety of areas, including mental health. LaKeisha is the owner and operator of FHG Health and Wellness PLLC, and that stands for his glory. LaKeisha's passion for people development, education, advocacy, and overall healthy living led to the creation of FHG Health and Wellness PLLC. For his glory desires to bring glory to Christ through service to others. LaKeisha is a very devoted wife, mother of two, a daughter, a sister, a auntie, and I can also say a loyal friend, and loves all things peach. She is passionate about people, about meeting people where they are and helping them to grow in their greatest potential and every aspect of their life. LaKeisha believes healthy living is a marathon, not a relay. We must prepare and equip ourselves daily to succeed. This race called life. So I welcome you, LaKeisha McCulley. How are you tonight?
Good evening. Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here with you, Phyllis and Chandrell. Chandrell, thank you so much for the creation of this platform with She and this She Healthy platform where we can really just talk very candidly. So I'm excited to be invited to the conversation tonight. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I'm excited about this conversation. Little do you know, people, we've already had a segment before we started the segment. Well, we're
Yes, we
going to
did.
share some great tips with you. So, Lakeisha, please share with us your experience as a nurse, and we'll start there.
Okay, sounds good. So first of all, I just want to get a shout out to my nursing family just all across North Carolina. I think nurses are some of the most remarkable people there are, and not just registered nurses, but your CNAs, your LPNs, your RNs, your nurse practitioners, and others that have advanced degrees in nursing. I want to personally say thank you for being so amazing. I have had the opportunity to work with some incredible nurses. And even after leaving a healthcare system that I had the privilege to work for almost 20 years, I still have maintained some of my most precious relationships with those nurses. And so I just want to say thank you all for what you do every day to impact the lives of other people. I know how that work is, and you all are awesome. So, with that being said, I've been a registered nurse now. I've been in healthcare for over 20 years. My very first job at 15, I was a feeder in a nursing home. So when I was 11 years old is when I decided that I wanted to be a nurse. And it started very personally for me. My mom, she had some healthcare challenges throughout my life. And whenever I was 11, she had a back surgery and she was in a body cast. And so I remember her coming to me and saying, you know, the doctor said that I could have a nurse or somebody to come out and help take care of me. And she loves to tell people the story that I said, "Oh no, mom, nobody has to come help take care of you. I'll take care of you." And literally, that's kind of where my journey of knowing that I wanted to take care of people began. And so at 11, I look back on it today. And since we're talking about mental health, I'm sure I took on some responsibilities that I wouldn't advise other 11-year-olds to take on. But I would say, to God be the glory, I was able to do it. And it fired my passion for taking care of people. So when I was in high school, I got my CNA 1. And then when I got into college, I was able to get my CNA 2. And so I started working as a CNA whenever I was in college. I remember working for a travel agency, and nurses, if you're out there listening, you all can agree that whenever you go to the nursing home, they give the traveling people some of the worst assignments. So I remember having 15 patients as a CNA, and out of that 15, probably 10 of them were total care patients. So you work for every dime of that, but I would say I learned a lot. It was super rewarding. And what I really loved most about taking care of those patients in the nursing home was many of them, it was the smallest thing that you did for them that made a difference. It really was. And so that really continued throughout the time that I was in nursing school. And then whenever I relocated here to the Charlotte area, and I started working for one of the major healthcare systems here. I started out in emergency services, and then I transitioned to med surge. Stayed in med surge for a period of time. Worked in a what they would call like a fast track observation unit, and then I went into the float pool and I worked on different med surge units, taking care of different patients. And then I transitioned out into community health. So I've done some community health, and I've also done some behavioral health because during the time that I was in my stint of med surge, our particular unit gradually turned into a mental health unit because of the high volume of behavioral health patients that we were seeing. And we literally were in an overflow capacity in our emergency department and did not have anywhere for those patients to go. And so because we were a sister unit at the time to the emergency department, we became the overflow unit for behavioral health patients. So I kind of was, migrated into that behavioral health space and took care of a lot of behavioral health patients. And I would say that at times it could be scary, but other times not at all, because for the majority of what I encountered, many of my behavioral health patients, were really similar to some of my medical patients. They did not have like these outrageous issues that I think some people believe about behavioral health patients. You'll be surprised the number of patients that have just come in with high blood pressure, but they have some underlying depression or something like that. So over the years throughout my nursing career, I would say that mental health and behavioral health, the terms are used interchangeably, like it affects all of us in some way or another. And so after working in med surg and community health, I had the opportunity to go into the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Health Equity. And that really just took my nursing career into just a whole nother perspective, because it really allowed me the opportunity to really see people. So you can work with people but not really see them. And
Mm-hmm.
so my time in the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Health Equity really helped me to see people and really learn about people. And that just spewed my passion for people that much more. And then before I left the healthcare organization, I worked in women's services, which was a treat for me because when I was in nursing school, I was voted most likely to be a women's health nurse. So it's so interesting how God would take you around this trajectory and then allow you to go back to what you really wanted to do. But I was so much more equipped for that. And I worked in a nurse manager's role, had a phenomenal team there. And then I decided that, you know what? I'm ready to do something different and I'm ready to own my time and I'm ready to really be able to have time with people and my clients like I really want to. And that really did encourage me to pursue FHG Health and Wellness. And not only just that, unfortunately, I was able to, it's unfortunate but fortunate, able to be with my dad in some of his final years dealing with sickness. And during that time, it really did fuel for me just the importance of health, the importance of quality of life, not just quantity of life. Because
Yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes I think we're very hung up on quantity and not quality. And with my dad and his illness, I recognize how much his quality of life was taken from him. And so, one thing that I am very passionate about is the whole quality of life, and that looks different from each for each of us. And wellness, like you've got to have wellness in order to have some quality of life. And so, for His Glory Health and Wellness, I really am focusing on the education piece, the advocacy piece, training people, making sure they are equipped with resources and tools about their own personal health, but also being able to save a life, know CPR, even if it's just knowing how to correctly do chest compressions. Like you are pumping that heart for that person, you are giving them the chance at life by doing that correctly. And then with coaching services, that just enables me on a whole nother level to really meet people where they are, help understand what their goals are, and help them get there. Because I'm partnering with you. Like you are the expert of you. And I want to walk alongside you and help you to see that and meet those future goals that you're trying to pertain. So nursing has been good to me overall. It has not come without its challenges, that's for sure, but I would not change it for nothing in this world.
Wow. I mean, your nursing background and history is full circle. And you have great experience on different levels of nursing and with different patients. And you did say some key things that for me, I would like to just, to highlight. You said one, it was time for you to do something different. You wanted to be able to spend more time with the people that you served. And these are, big things, or great tasks in the nursing field, because I've always said that nursing is, or it should be, a passion driven career. And it sounds from the way that you're talking that your passion for caring for people and your passion for making sure that they understand their health and their wellness and what it means to be healthy and well, is very admirable. So I'm excited to hear more about your experience. And for us, my passion is mental health. I love walking alongside people and helping them with their mental health, helping them not only with mental health, but helping them to change their mindset, the way that we think. And for you, you said that you knew that it was time for you to do something. So what was that defining moment that made you say, it's time for me to stop nursing others and nurse myself?
Really good question. So let me go back a little bit. So whenever I started in my nursing career and started working in med surge, and so in med surge, you can have on average 6 or 7 patients to one nurse. And these patients come with a variety of health illnesses that you are responsible for doing your most likely 12-hour shift. Most nurses work 12-hour shifts. And so after probably, I would say 3 years that I had been in nursing and working med surge, I noticed a change in me. Like
Mm,
I noticed that I was coming home and I felt like I was complaining more. I was coming home and I just didn't have that same drive about what I was doing. When it be time for me to prepare myself to get ready to go to work, I did not feel that same oomph about going. Like I was beginning to dread it. And I remember one day driving home from work, and I believe it was the Lord that reminded me very early in my career. I had said to my husband, if you hear me coming home complaining about the people that I decided to care for, about the
Mhm.
work that I desire to do, if you hear me complaining and getting bitter, I need you to call me on it. So that came back to me, and him and I were talking one morning because I was working night shift, and him and I were talking one morning, and he began to talk to me about how I had been sounding when I would come home.
wow.
And so I had to take a look in the mirror and check myself and recognize I wasn't in a good place. Like, and I had to acknowledge what was going on with me and know that I cared enough about the people that I wanted to serve and serve well, that it was time for me to do something different. So I looked outside of med surge to go into a different department to help alleviate for me some of the stress, the mundane, the burnout that I was experiencing in med surge. And so I was able to move on and do some other things, but I always maintained that awareness about myself that, okay, if I'm getting in this disgruntled place, I need to be the one to take action on that because
Mhm.
I don't want my team members to suffer from it, and I most definitely do not want my patients to suffer from it. And so I'm thankful that I had an accountability partner, and I'm also thankful for God for bringing that back to me because I never wanted to relay those feelings on my team or other people. And whenever I left my job in 2021 in that nurse leadership role, I would say in that role, I had began to just have some feelings of just powerlessness. Like
Mhm.
I really felt like that I could not do for the people what they needed to be done. And the people meaning my team that I served over and served with,
Mhm.
that ultimately spilled out into the patient care. And so I made that decision that I felt like, I'm not able to do what they really need me to do for multiple reasons. I mean, a lot of it was out of my control, and I realized that, but it went back to what I had committed to myself in the beginning. I came to serve the people. That is what I'm passionate about. And so if I feel like that I'm not doing that well, I'm okay with leaving that seat and allowing somebody else to do it that may can, because my calling for this work is bigger than that. Like ultimately, I want to bring God glory in all that I do. And if I'm leaving at the end of the day not feeling like I'm serving well for whatever the circumstances may be, then I have to check myself. I have to be accountable to that. And it's time to do something different.
Mhm.
Wow.
And
I'm
I
yeah.
love yeah, I love how you took yourself through really that coaching process. You had
Mhm.
an accountability, you set up that accountability partner, but you also continue to make sure that you were aware,
Mm-hmm,
of your calling, of
mm-hmm,
what you were called to do, which allows you to be able to serve better.
mm-hmm,
Because mental health, you think about nurses and burnout, and the fact that nurses work very hard. They work
mm-hmm,
extremely hard and everyone relies on them,
mm-hmm,
and so when you think about that, you have a family to raise, you have your work, and you didn't
mm-hmm,
allow yourself to get burnt out. So
mm-hmm,
what
mm-hmm.
other message or suggestion would you give to nurses that may be feeling a little burnt out right now?
Mhm.
My biggest messaging would be true to yourself and what you got into nursing to do. But first of all, that being true to yourself, see, one of the things that I am super passionate about as it relates to the work that I plan to push forth on a greater level with FHG Health and Wellness is really helping to encourage and empower women to fill your own cup first.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Too many times we are pouring out from a place of empty. And I can
Mm-hmm.
say that because I've been there. Been there, and some days I teeter the line of dipping back there. But because of that awareness that I have, I try to be very honest with myself and recognize when I need to fill my own cup. And I want to help empower women to understand it's okay to
Yeah.
take care of you and to do it guilt free.
Agree.
Yes.
Yes.
The
Yes.
number
Yes.
of us that we carry this guilt because I told my baby, no, we're not going to the mall because mama need a nap. But I wake up carrying this guilt because I didn't do what the baby wanted me to do. But guess what? Whenever you wake up for that
Mm.
nap, you're going to have more patience. Your response and your tolerance is going to be improved. Whenever you do take the baby to the mall, you actually might enjoy it too. But
Mm-hmm.
see, we are so focused on doing the things that we forget about the person that has to do all the things. And
Okay.
so, what I would say to nurses is do not be afraid to fill your cup. And yes, for many of us, because of the way we are wired, that filling our cup can be very uncomfortable. But
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I just did a video about this that whenever you get uncomfortable, that is when you are able to grow. You
Yes.
cannot grow in a place of comfort. And I've learned that
Mm.
the hard way and still learning that. Being an entrepreneur, this is a totally uncomfortable place for me. I'm a caregiver. Now, you put me at a bedside or you give me somebody right here, honey, I'm going to love you up and down from head to toe. You're going to have the best service. But this entrepreneur world, whew, a girl has been thrown back on many days. But because of my passion for people, I keep going because I
Yes.
believe God has given me something to offer in service to others. And so I keep pushing. But I have decided I'm going to be uncomfortable so that I can grow in that space. And I encourage my nurse colleagues, it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm going to do this change for me. It is
Yeah.
okay because I honestly believe we are so much better for the people that we love and we serve when we take time to fill our
Mm-hmm.
own cup before we pour out.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, the World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of well-being in which an individual realizes their own abilities, can
Mhm.
cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and contribute to their community. Your story has met all of those criterias in managerial mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how you were able to identify that, have that self-awareness of where you were, and have that accountability partner. I think as for me as a coach, I always encourage people to make sure that you have that support system, that
Mhm.
person that will keep you accountable,
Mhm.
that is not just going to go along with everything you say or not even join in on that pity party,
Yes.
but bring it to your attention. Hey, you complaining too much.
Mhm.
Are you sure this is where you need to be
Yep.
in this current season?
Mhm.
And it's like you said, we have to get to the place where we embrace the uncomfortable and the
Mm-hmm.
unfamiliar in order to grow.
Mhm.
And it's just, as I was thinking about that, as you were speaking and telling your story, I was like, my gosh, she hit every one of those checkpoints um, in managing, for as far as her mental health. And that's very key for us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chandra, I appreciate you saying that. Mental health became super important to me when my dad came back into my life. So I grew
Mhm.
up single parent, and I did not know my dad for the first 17 years of my life. So we have, to God be the glory, quite the redemption story. But it did not come without some bumps, some valleys, some mountaintop experiences.
Yes.
And my dad, he had his own challenges with mental health that I got to be a part of firsthand. And
Mhm.
so, once again, I believe God does all things well, because the experiences that I was able to have as a nurse and dealing with mental health, I now can look in hindsight and see where it also helped me to be able to deal with my dad, but also I had to look in the mirror at self and think about some of the things that I had been through, some of the way I have handled different situations, and it allowed me to have more compassion for him. See,
Mhm.
it's very easy for us to think that we got our stuff together
Mhm.
until you
Come on.
really take a look at yourself, and you will see that maybe not so much. And it allows you to have humility and therefore more compassion for other people. And so mental health became more of awareness for me when my dad came back into my life, because I also wanted to make sure that some of the things that he was displaying, that I was able to be a different example for him as well, as I was hoping to one day, thank God, lead him to Christ and all those type of things. I had to show something different. And so in that, I began to be more attentive to me. Life has a way of teaching you, and you either
Yeah.
gonna be taught and keep and stay in the fight, or you not, and you're gonna be constantly running uphill backwards in a losing battle. And that's not the road I chose.
And I can agree. I can
Mhm,
understand because I do have a similar story. But my father, I did grow up with him, but there was a stint where he was not present in my life due to
mhm,
choices that he made. And so when he did return, it was an uphill battle to regain or rebuild
mhm.
that relationship.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of emotion because at the time I was just fresh going into high school. So,
Mhm,
you've missed a major chunk of my life.
mhm.
And so now I'm at the stage where do I really need you, or do I continue to function without you? And now you're back trying to incorporate yourself into
Mhm,
a life that I had to live without you. So
right.
it can be an emotional roller coaster, and
Mhm.
just being able to manage that, as a teenager who thinks we don't really call it mental health at that age.
Nope.
We call it going through the motions, going through the
Right.
changes.
Right.
But it's actually mental health. And it,
Mhm.
it brought me to an awareness where, okay, I need to talk to somebody about how I feel.
Yes.
I'm angry all the time
Yes.
about this.
Mhm.
And so it's okay that we have these feelings, but we need to address them so that we
Mhm.
can develop proper coping mechanisms.
That's
Mhm.
right.
And so
Mhm.
I'm just, excited about this whole conversation because we really need to illuminate mental health. Not only for nurses, especially in the nurse medical field, as I've said earlier in a conversation, you know, for a long time, I don't think that people have really looked at the mental health of
Mhm.
medical
Mhm.
providers,
Mhm.
nurses, doctors,
Mhm.
surgeons. We really don't, because one, you're already in the medical field,
Mhm.
and who's caring for the people who's caring for others,
Mhm.
Yes.
mentally, physically, emotionally. And
Mhm.
so this has, this conversation over this month, and just speaking to some nurses that's in my life personally, getting a better understanding that, hey, this is a major area that's lacking in support.
Mhm.
And what can we do about this? So
Mhm.
what tips and tools do you have to offer about helping to identify when
Mhm.
it's time for you to consider something different, or to
Mhm.
identify those
Mhm.
changes in behavior?
So,
What do you
Chandra, you touched on several things that I would like to address. One, when you mentioned about counseling, so I would like to just strongly encourage people that counseling is okay.
Yes, it
Actually,
is.
in all honesty, I think it's necessary. And
Mhm.
I had my own qualms about counseling only because I did not grow up in an environment where that was the thing to do. In fact, I grew up with, you mentioned counseling, and people like, oh, I'm not crazy. You might be if that's your response, but um like it just was not welcomed, like
Mm-hmm.
people just didn't see it as okay. And then also as a Christian, many times counseling wasn't talked about.
Right.
Like
Okay.
you prayed about everything, you take it to the Lord, that you know and I actually have a really close friend who's a psychotherapist, and she always says it's okay to have Jesus and a counselor too.
So too.
And
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I totally
Right.
agree.
I
It is
agree.
okay to have Jesus and a counselor too, because I believe that God has equipped people with these
Mm-hmm.
gifts, these talents, abilities. He has allowed people to go and get education and training to be able to be of service to other people, just as we are today. And we have different assignments and different roles that we play, but it is totally okay to go to counseling. I finally made the step to do counseling last year in October. So my dad passed away in April, and I kept teetering back and forth with it. And I finally said, you know what? No, I'm going to do this for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and I had, people to ask me, well, what you in counseling for? Sometimes you don't even have an answer specifically for that. All you know is this is something that I need to do for me.
For me.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, once again, back to your question about, tips for if you're feeling burnout or whatever it is you may be going through, take advantage of the EAP that your job has. If you don't trust that, seek out and get the support that you may need and do it for you. It's not about anybody else. It's about
Yes.
that most important self-work. And I believe that self-work is ongoing. We will always be working on ourselves. But
Mm-hmm.
counseling has been amazing for me. I am
Yeah.
superly excited that I made that decision for myself because it has been very much beneficial. And then I would also want to say that whenever you talk about nursing, I actually, as I was preparing for this, I reached out to a group of my nursing buddies. And I asked them, and some of them I stay in contact with all the time. Some of them I had talked to in a while, but still have a relationship. And actually, it was CNAs and registered nurses. And I asked them, in one word, sum up for me a day in nursing. And so I want to read some of the
Yeah.
responses that I got. And I'm just going to go down the list real quickly, and then we'll talk about why this is so important as it relates to mental health. So here were some of the responses I got: exhausting,
Mm.
exhausting, disregarded,
Mm.
chaotic, rewarding, supported, busy, busy, a dichotomy, drained,
Mm.
demanding,
Yes.
frustrating, camaraderie, exhausting, overwhelmed, multitasking, advocate, resilient, undervalued, challenging,
Wow.
rewarding, compassion, exhausting,
Wow.
unheard, overwhelmed, passionate, grateful, determined. So when we think about those words that we just heard, to me, all of that says why mental health is so important for nurses.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That is such a variety of emotions, feelings, and expressions
Mm-hmm.
that we can't overlook how important it is to allow nurses, those that have been looked at as the heroes, a lot of times those that have been looked at as your strong friend. I
Mm-hmm.
know most of nurses, their family call them with questions.
Mm-hmm.
Their neighbors call, the church call, the friends call. Like they are looked at the one in the family. Most of
Mm-hmm.
the time, anybody that's in healthcare in their family, they're looked at as the one to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And I never forget, I participated in a mental health walk. This organization called Eustress, and they had this shirt that said, "Check on your strong friend."
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, as nurses and healthcare workers, we are the strong friend.
Yeah.
Who's checking on us?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's the when you were reading those responses, I read a survey by American Nurse Foundation, and they surveyed 12,000 plus nurses.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the responses that basically, I believe it was approximately 70%
Mm-hmm.
of the nurses responded
Mm-hmm.
with words that you've used:
Mm-hmm.
overwhelm, exhaustion, burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that tells us, and it said it was the first survey that was done of its kind in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about
Mm.
2020, and we're only in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
How long have nurses, the mental health of
Mm-hmm.
nurses gone unattended?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's it
Mm-hmm.
it just
Mm-hmm.
goes to show and to prove, when we come to mental health, when it comes to mental health, the delay in treatment or attention.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
think because of the pandemic now, mental health is getting a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But mental health has always been an issue. I mean, I remember growing up, my uncle suffered from mental health illness,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't something that everyone spoke about
Yeah.
in the family. It wasn't even something that we really knew a lot about because it was, negative stigma around it. And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
with this platform, we're not only wanting to make sure that we are breaking those stigmas that are keeping people from receiving therapy and counseling, but it's educating them and equipping them to be their own advocate. You
That's
said
right.
something that was very important. You are the expert of you. I don't know if you said
Mm-hmm.
that here, or if that was in a previous conversation, but you
Mm-hmm.
said,
Mm-hmm.
and it stuck out to me because you are the expert of you.
Yeah.
And like you said, no one knows your body better than you. No one really knows your behavior
Yes.
better than you.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't take the time to identify our routine patterns, our triggers, um,
Mm-hmm.
what causes us certain emotions and feelings, we're
Mm-hmm.
doing ourselves a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are we doing ourselves a disservice, but we're doing everyone who is relying on us. I like to say everything from the shoulders down needs to be taken care of because that's me. Everything in the middle, but everything on my shoulders, that's the
Mm-hmm.
things that we pile on. That's the other people that we carry.
Mm-hmm.
But if these shoulders collapse,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
then where is everything that's above our shoulders going to be?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to take time to identify who we are.
Yeah.
And Angela said, yes, check on your strong friend.
Yes.
And that's so true because so many of us are that strong friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
because we're living this superwoman
Mm-hmm.
myth, I'm going to say a myth,
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Superwoman myth, because guess what? If you go back and you really look at Superwoman and how she was created, Superwoman has a support system.
That's
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so do not be fooled that
Yeah.
you don't need a support system.
right.
Do not
Yes.
And
be
when you,
fooled that you don't
Yes.
need to be mindful of your mental health.
yeah,
Yes.
All of these
and,
things are important.
and then
Mm-hmm.
when
And
you think
that
about,
was I mean, it was that just really stood out to me.
yeah.
Phyllis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when you think about it, those words, a lot of those words are not just to one individual. Just think about if you're that one person that has multiple, those words, you have multiple experiences with those words. So you're not just exhausted, you're all the things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
you are having to deal with so much, and then every day it could be something different. Today you're exhausted, another day you're something else. You do tend to think, well, what's going on with me? But no one has even asked me, how am I
Yes.
doing? No one
Yes.
has even said, how are you doing? Or even noticed, like Chandra says, your behaviors can change. And no
Mm-hmm.
one has ever even thought that maybe my behavior is changing. No, it's almost like, who sees me
Mm.
as that
So good.
caregiver, as that
Mm-hmm.
caregiver, who sees me? And then you don't have time enough to even think about that, because now the next thing, you have to do the next thing, you have to serve the next person, you have to answer the next call, you have to respond to the person in the restaurant getting ready to choke. There's so many things that you have to do, and you are on standby. So just is and it's so important how your journey has evolved to you serving and caring for people, to now you equipping others to be better for themselves. So you've expanded your reach just by the very nature of the journey that you've taken. You started with your mom, and then you continued, and now you sit in a position so eloquently and so beautifully. You sit in a position where you impact so many people to be able to have better impact. So you've spread your wings, and you are that covering for a lot of nurses and a lot of people, especially as FHG goes into that coaching realm, because you can have, and you said you can have you can have Jesus. We need Jesus. You can have a therapist,
and you can have the coach.
and now you have a coach, right?
That's it.
So
And
you
I want to piggyback
all that.
on, thank you, Phyllis. You're exactly right. And I want to piggyback on what you were saying, Chandrell, about the cape and Superwoman. And you had asked a question about, tips for, nurses feeling okay to be able to, seek help or get whatever they need if they're feeling burnout. And I think that first step is being okay with taking off the cape.
Yeah.
The one thing that I know about,
say it one more time. Say that one more time.
being okay with taking off the cape.
Yes.
Because one thing that I know about us, I'm going to put me in it too, because I'm a work in progress. One thing I know about us is that we like to be in control. We like to be in control. But I feel like, in my experience as a nurse, that environment and the training that we have, it puts us in that space of where you have to be in control, where you have to multitask, where you got to think and process all the things. But we got to know when it's time to take the cape off. And I've done it, and I've witnessed many of my nursing buddies, they running the cape from sun up to sundown. And when you talk about mental health, you got to be able to lay the cape down and take care of you. You got to be able to do it, because after a while, the cape gonna give out. The threads is unraveling. It's getting holes in it. You got to be able to take the cape off and allow you to get what you need.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Angela, you said that only God is in control, but I'm not going to go off on that today, that myth or that deception of control, but that's a conversation for another time. But we do have this thing called control in our mind, that we are in control of certain things.
Yes.
And we're not.
That's right.
And you said it. We have to be able to be comfortable, be okay. It's okay to take that cape off. That cape has been the downfall for so many of us, especially as women of color, because we have been conditioned and raised to be that strong woman, that woman that handles everything, that woman that, cry behind closed doors, but never let anyone see you cry. Keep a smile on your face, hold your head up high, keep walking, keep your heels high and your standards high. So, we have been conditioned to be that and not taking that cape off, and it has caused us many illnesses, not just in our mental health. When we begin to think about our mental health, the underlying health condition, the physical health conditions that come along with the mental aspect of it. And so we don't, it's a full circle thing, and we have to learn to look at it from a holistic point of view, a holistic perspective. If I'm working myself to death because I won't take this cape off, and my blood pressure is 200, my mood, I'm gonna be having mood swings. My heart is over pumping. It's gonna cause me to be anxious. So, there's a lot of
inflammation.
And inflammation. So it goes back to how are we taking care of ourselves?
Yes, yes.
I've heard Dr. Stephanie Kirkland say at a conference, a women's conference, she said, we make the schedule. Why we can't put ourselves on it?
Oh,
And that thing
yes,
resonated
yes,
with me.
yes,
Yes.
It resonated with
yes.
me. Like, I'm up here, I make a schedule from 5 a.m. in the morning to 4 in the evening, but I'm not on the schedule.
So
So
good.
that thing really resonated with me. Thank you, Dr. Kirkland, for that. But it was it, and we do that. But that's the story of so many of us.
Yes,
Because I'm gonna tell you, she really has stepped on my toes with that.
yes.
When she said that in that women's conference, I was like, Lord, she didn't have to do that to me, but she did. But it was well worth it because it
Yes.
resonated with me. And it helped me to realize it's okay to
Yes,
schedule me in.
it
It's
is.
okay to take that time that I need to make sure that I am well, so I am not pouring from an empty cup,
Right.
as
Yes.
you said earlier.
In
So,
fact, it's super necessary, and that is really what I am hoping that I will be able to convey and help women to understand through coaching that it is necessary because you said it when you talked about the chronic diseases. I mean, according to the CDC, 6 out of 10 adults have at least one chronic disease. And out of that 10, 4 of the 10 have 2 or more chronic diseases. And as I was learning and studying in my coaching certification, the majority, about 70 to 80% of our chronic diseases can be either completely healed or extremely like cured to a point where it's not even that big of an issue just by lifestyle changes.
Yes.
And the majority of those lifestyle changes start with eliminating some of your stress. You know, I had to recognize that we, especially women, we do this very well. We internalize stress like nobody else.
okay.
Yes,
I
we do.
mean, we internalize it to a point that we don't even recognize until somebody else points it out to us that we're stressed. And it can be pointed out when you got to start your blood pressure medicine because you stressed. It can be pointed out whenever you have had that complete blow up over something silly. And it's because your cup runneth over. Like we as women, we focus so much on everybody else. And I want to change that scenario.
Yes.
Like, and it's not to be selfish because many times I feel like, especially in the Christian space, we mix self care with being self absorbed. It's two
Mm.
different things.
Two
It's two
different
different
things.
things.
Say
Self
that again.
care, self care is taking care of you, taking care of your physical temple. I never forget some years ago, I know clearly the Lord spoke to me about my physical health and said that He does not dwell in mess.
Mm,
Mm.
my Lord.
And that not dwelling in mess, I knew directly that it was speaking to my heart about poor choices I was making, poor choices that I was consciously making. And so we have got to understand that God gives us these bodies and He gives us this temple for us, for Him to dwell in. And this is the only body that we get on this side. We need to take care of it. Mind, body, spirit, emotions. You said it earlier, Chandra. It's all interconnected. We are one whole being. You can't separate one without the other. So if one area is lacking, it's going to spill over and cause those other areas to overcompensate.
That's
So
Absolutely.
we have to
Absolutely.
really take time and look at ourselves. And I think that the removing of the cape and looking in the mirror and really looking at you and saying, okay, I got to do better. Where do I start?
Yeah.
And you just got to start.
Yeah.
yes.
Just
You just got to,
slowing down. Yeah.
yes, slow it down.
slowing down, because when we're stressed,
Mm-hmm.
we stress eat, or we even
Yes.
neglect. We
Yes.
don't eat enough. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to take that time to think about what we're eating. Think
Mhm.
about, because when we are stressed out, we don't reach for a piece of fruit. We
Right.
reach for what? We reach for sugar or
Mm-hmm.
something else that's going to feed that emotional part of us, that
Yes.
comfort part of us. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. That's where and if we keep doing that, but you got to slow down and think about, what are you feeding? What are you
Yes.
feeding on? What are we putting in
Mm-hmm.
our bodies?
Mm-hmm. And
And you
that's why
know,
mindfulness is so
Hmm.
important.
Yeah.
And that's another thing in coaching that I offer with my clients is to take time for mindfulness. And
Hmm.
really, it's all related to breathing. Like I was very surprised that as I learned about mindfulness, how much I really don't take time to breathe.
To breathe.
See,
Oh,
it's one thing to be on autopilot and just go about your day and oh yeah, I'm breathing. But no, to really sit still and feel the air move through your chest. Fill up your nostrils and slowly breathe out. That is a whole different type of breathing than just everyday breathing that
hmm
will refocus you, gives
mhm,
you clarity of thought, will cause you to be able to feel this point. You know what? I'm going to choose this apple instead of these Doritos because this apple is going to serve my body well.
right.
Even
mhm,
in my own wellness journey, I know I'm a stressed eater. The first thing I think about when I go to is some chocolate fudge brownie ice cream and can sit and eat the whole thing and then be feeling terrible about it later. So I didn't do my body well, I didn't do my mind well, and then I got to deal with this negative self-talk with myself,
mm,
you know? But whenever I take time to slow down and really think about, okay, I am eating to live, not living to
to
eat.
eat.
Hmm.
Mhm,
That's
See,
right.
when I think about it that way, I'm going to choose what's going to help me to live
Hmm.
versus choosing what could, do detriment to my body. And I think we all have some of that in some kind of way, but slowing down and even remember to breathe throughout the day. When you feel like through your day, you're getting overwhelmed or whatever it may be, take a few deep breaths. Just try
mhm.
it. You'll be so surprised at how it can shift your viewing.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Because just two things I want to piggyback off. First, internalizing,
Mm,
and you hit that on the head. As women, we do internalize a lot of things. And
mhm,
I was just talking to, I just posted this in a group that Coach Harrison and myself are working with some women in a group right now. And everything's not worthy of an internal place within us.
Mm. Right.
And we take everything and give it an improper value and give
mhm,
it an internal place within
mhm,
us. And we have to be able to define what has a high value, what is worthy of an internal place, and what is
mhm,
not. And I know that's difficult, but I had to really work on that because I was one of those people,
mhm,
internalizing everything,
mhm.
and that comes from sometimes people who are overthinkers.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
they can internalize everything, and
Mhm,
we absorb everything and make it a part of us. Well, everything that is not required to be a part of us.
mhm,
And that was a journey that I had to work on. When you said it, it was like, wow, you're right. Everything does not have to be internalized. We need to really
mhm.
work on that,
Yes.
and understand what we are internalizing and why we are internalizing it, and go
Mhm,
back to the root cause of what causes us to internalize these things.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then secondly, you said that about the eating, you know, and Phyllis said we can overeat, we can undereat,
mhm.
because and they're both equally negative coping mechanisms.
Yes. Mhm.
And we just really need to be mindful of how. And then Phyllis taught us a while back about the breathing.
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
did a breathing exercise with us, and that was the first time I actually realized, I need to breathe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like you said, we're running around every day on autopilot, not just
Right.
with
Mhm.
our breathing, though. We're on
Mhm.
autopilot
Mhm.
fixing people's problems. We're on
Yes.
autopilot caring for everybody else, we're just on autopilot.
Yes.
And we really need to turn the autopilot off in order to have a better state of health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not processing our pain.
Mm.
Okay. We walk with our pain every day, and we're never taking the time to process it and eliminate it. Okay. And a lot of decisions that we make come from the pain and experiences that we feel on a regular basis. Sometimes it goes back to being a child. Sometimes it goes back to, when you were a nurse in nursing school, and maybe there was some pain and maybe there was some trauma. So there's so many things that we don't process, but we get busy and we get hobbies and other things that to push things out of your mind, but we've got to learn to begin to deal with our pain.
Yes.
Mental
Yes.
health. We have to do that.
Yes. That's so true, Phyllis. And that goes back to that taking a look in the mirror at you and really a deep look. And that's the one thing that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for as relates to coaching, because in coaching, I had to be the first partaker of what I'm going to be delivering to my clients.
Yes.
Because I can't give them something that I don't have. And so in my coaching program, I'm so thankful because I feel like God allowed me to be in counseling and be in this coaching simultaneously. And it really did allow me to take that deeper dive. And to your point, Phyllis, as it relates to pain, I never forget the first time my counselor said to me, "You suffer from trauma." Y'all would have thought she called me all the way out my name the way I reacted. Because I was like, what? I suffer from what? I had a whole attitude. It was not good. But it was because I had never, ever even thought about myself as having trauma. And hear me when I say I have taken classes in trauma. I mean, like, I was able to relate trauma to everybody else but me. So you talk about mental health, and when we got off of the counseling session, I had said to myself, "That's probably my last session." And then,
I'm laughing because we say that. I've said that. I'm not. This lady crazy. I'm not coming back here. She's talking about stuff that don't even relate to me.
Because we will separate ourselves from the problem. That might be a whole nother topic. But I began to really think about it. And of course, my husband is my biggest accountability partner. And if anybody know my husband, honey, he is black and white, and he gonna always give it to me real, whether I want it or not. But him being my accountability partner has been phenomenal for me, because when I said to him, I was like, "Can you believe what she said? She said I suffer from trauma. What she mean?" He looked at me. He was like, "You do, baby." What? So I began to process it, and it was true for me. And so, but when I was able to look in the mirror and say to myself, "Keisha, you suffer from trauma, and it's okay. It's a part of your story."
Yeah.
So I had to come to terms with that and deal with that for my own mental health, for my own transparency, for me to be able to continue to be uncomfortable and grow. And so I say all that to say that no matter what your profession is, you got to deal with you. You got to deal with you. And you got to accept those things about you that you may not want to deal with. But I promise, if you deal with them and you grow through them, it'll make you better. And it'll make you better for the people that you love and care for.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Awesome. This has been a wonderful conversation. I mean, we could go on longer with this conversation because there's just so much that can be shared when it comes to mental health, especially mental health for nurses, mental health for women of color, mental health for everyone. But we do have to wrap it up. And so I would like to gain any final insights that you would like to share with us, LaKeisha, what you would like to share with the replay viewers and our current viewers. And we thank you, viewers who are watching with us now and those who will watch later. We are just excited that you would take the time to listen to this candid conversation. Please share with us any final remarks, LaKeisha.
So thank you. I just want to share with everybody that please, please, please take care of you. Take care of you. Do the necessary things so you can be the best you that you can be. And knowing that in taking care of you, you are also taking care of others.
Amen.
Amen. Phyllis?
Yeah, I just would like to just thank you, LaKeisha, for coming on. She Healthy Woman is just, this is our 13th segment. And so you have just set it on fire for us, just giving some great information. Your energy, your smile, your knowledge, everything has been amazing. So we look forward to seeing you back.
I
Yes.
look forward to coming back. Thank you, ladies, for having this candid, such a very important conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you for taking this assignment. It When I thought about nurses, I thought about you, and I said, you know what? I know she has something very good to share with us.
Mhm.
And you have really gone above and beyond
Yes.
anything that I could have imagined that you was going to share tonight. It was very candid. You were very transparent. And as always, we ask that, transparency, because that's what's going to change lives. And so I'm just grateful that you've taken this assignment. I'm grateful that both you and Phyllis took time out of your busy schedule to be with us tonight, to have this candid conversation. So if you feel that Sisters Healing and Evolving She Healthy Woman platform has been a blessing to you and that it can be beneficial to other women in illuminating the unspoken health issues that we face, please feel free to support us by visiting our website at sistershealingandevolving.org or using our Cash App at Sisters Heal INC. We have many volunteer opportunities available. We have board member opportunities available. So feel free to reach out to us and bring your talents, your ideas, your desires for the community as we endeavor to provide knowledge, give access, and show support. We're truly grateful that you joined us tonight, and everyone have a wonderful and blessed night.
Good night.
Good night.